Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to talk about Atco Dragway. What happened? When Atco closed, there was really no notification. Just a blanket post up on Facebook saying we're closed. Not really much information as to why, just doors are shut, that's it. Thank you, goodbye. Effective immediately, Atco Dragway is permanently closed. We will not be open from this point on. The remainder of our schedule for 2023 will be canceled. Thank you all for your patronage and memories over the years. Special thanks to you and our 29th annual Pan American National Racers and Crowd for making Atco's last event the biggest and best ever. This isn't the end for import racing in the Northeast. All of our staff, we'd like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for sticking it out with us and being the best in the business. And with that, Atco closed. We didn't really know anything as to why until recently. 2 years later, I stumbled across a post on Racer's Rant. Len Capone, the owner of the track, the old owner of the track, threw a post up. And this is what spurred the video. We're going to talk about the whole thing right now. A little brief history on the track. The previous owner, Joe Sway Sr., had owned the track for a very, very long time. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he's the original owner. He may have been, I'm not sure. I used to race there back in the 90s. I went with a friend back in I think it was late 90s, 2000s. He ran a Pro 5.0 car, if you guys remember that class. We used to do a lot of testing there and weekend match racing, usually on Sunday. We were always super welcomed by Joe and his staff. We were there a lot, so much to the point where we would pull up, pay for our entry, and they would just throw the tech card away and say, here you go, here's your number, race, have fun. Didn't even bother to check us. Anyway, great track, a lot of fun there. But in 2012, it seemed some rumors swelled that Joe was going to sell the track because of financial issues with an accident that happened there in 2010. Joe did sell the track to Len Capone in the roughly the end of 2012. From that point on, the Capone family took control of the track, ran many events throughout the years. Some guys had issues, some guys didn't. You're going to have that. You can't make everybody happy in the business or any business. And fast forward to 2023, an abrupt shutdown. Then the post that I found September of this year from Len Capone kind of shed a little bit of light onto why everything closed. Let's clear this up. I sold all the land. I have nothing to do with any of the property. The track was sold because of all the past problems, mainly with the pine lands from previous owners. So between the pine lands, the people, the town committee, the police department, rising fees, and not to mention a shutdown, my wife's cancer, the hate from the racers and spectators, not all, but the few was just enough. That, as we see, is still a thing. It was time to sell. Not one racer ever offered to buy the track, not even after I told them, if you don't like the way I run the track, then buy me out. Not one person. Companies would call at least 2 times a year, and finally one offered the right price. Also, Joe sold the track first. I kept it open, like it or not. Okay, a couple of takeaways from that I found interesting. Mr. Capone always claims that he never wanted to sell the track. But then you would see the caveat that everything's for sale. That's in some of his other posts. If everything is for sale, which it sure seems, his tenure at the track was probably always one where he thought that he was going to sell it to look for a profit. That's my opinion. Just reading through his posts on social media. You don't get calls 2 times a year from companies wanting to buy. If you tell them, I'm not selling, not interested, thank you, goodbye. You get calls when people think you're interested in selling something, especially if they're interested in buying. Fast forward to mid-2023. You have the Pan American Nationals, which is a huge event at Atco. It's the biggest of the year, bringing in all kinds of money. Leading up through the year, all the way into that event, nothing was even mentioned of a possible track sale, change of ownership, nothing. I get that, because if you tend to do that, you may scare people away, questions arise, why are you doing it, controversy starts spinning out. Sometimes you want to keep that stuff quiet. But the timing of the sale was pretty suspicious. He waited till his biggest event of the year, and then that week after the event was over, announced a shutdown, no other activities, total suspension of everything, all the races are canceled from there on out, done. To me, it seems like he just wanted to get that last payday before he left. I could be wrong. But I think, to me and a lot of other people, that's the way it looks. Now, in this post on Racer's Rant on Facebook, obviously he got a lot of heat, because this is the first time he's actually thrown out there any reason for selling the track. I'll get into a few of them, and mainly focusing on his replies, which tell a lot about his attitude and why he did what he did. One gentleman writes, Len Capone, you have the dubious distinction of killing a beloved drag strip. You can blame everyone and make all the excuses, but in the end, everyone will remember you having one last payday and then slamming the gate shut. I wish no ill will towards you, but you will not be able to rewrite history on this one. Then Mr. Capone replies, and I can handle that. Mr. Capone also goes on in another post, replying to the same gentleman shortly thereafter. Not rewriting history. Yes, I sold the track, and I didn't have to explain to anyone why. Most people didn't care anyway. They just seen hate. So I explained. They all had their own opinions. They really didn't care for a real answer. Just hate. Business decisions are made all the time without explanations or asking for permission. They're made mostly for specific reasons, which, especially after so much hate, isn't anyone's business. So yes, I closed the track, and to be honest, it was the best decision I ever made. Anyone could have bought it, but no one stepped up. Everything is for sale. You just had to ask, and of course, offer the right number. Some takeaways from that. Again, I feel he was always looking for an owner through the whole 10 years that he owned the property. He also claims to be a businessman, which I'm sure he is, and that none of his businesses failed, only this one. I think a lot of the failure has to do with his attitude with dealing with the public. And I'll get into that with a couple more posts that he puts up. Mr. Capone writes, if you're talking about me, it's hard to tell with how you wrote. This is when I say to you, private property and ownership gives you the right to do whatever you want. Maybe you were a problem person, maybe someone else. If you or anyone is a problem, then how you were talked to was most likely from how you started the conversation. Like I told anyone that didn't agree with me, if you didn't like what I or how I ran things, buy me out. No one taker. In business, everything is for sale. It just takes the right person to approach and the right offer. Business is business, family first. Len's wife, Mary, goes on to reply as well. You can tell she's not happy with any of this and the way it's going. I can see a lot of this may stem from, I'm not going to put all the blame on Mr. Capone, but I think he's probably his own worst enemy. I've seen this before. I've dealt with people like this before. I've gone in to help guys do things. They've been asked to help out, and when the guy who supposedly runs the show sits there and says, if you don't like it, you can leave, my way or the highway, whenever you offer a suggestion that he may or may not like, you know there's going to be a big problem. And that seems that was a big thing with Mr. Capone. If you're dealing with the public and you rely on your customers to keep your business successful, you have to be able to take the harsh criticisms to make your business better. You may not like them, but you got to listen. And if you take offense at every comment made by people, you're going to end up to feel what sort of seems like Mr. Capone, how he felt towards Atco Dragway at some point. He could have gone in with the best intentions of making a run and a good go with Atco, make a nice living. I think his family already had businesses elsewhere. This was probably just maybe something he thought maybe it would be something nice to do since he was into racing, that could maybe get him away from other things. I don't know, that's just speculation. I don't think he went into it full on knowing that he just wanted to cash out at the end. I think his intentions were good, but I think when you have that attitude going into the business where you feel as though people are against you, you have a chip on your shoulder, that just kills it from the end, because what you're going to end up doing is you're ending up hurting your customers, hurting yourself, and the business fails. And that's kind of what happened, I think, with Atco, or at least is what it seemed. It's either that, or he just got sick of it to the point where he just started looking for offers for the track, which very well could be. Caitlin Sabin, she replied in here as well to some of the people making comments. I don't know who she is. It seems like she is a part of the Capone family, possibly married a person, Sabin, I don't know. Obviously, she was involved with the racing operations, because she goes on to comment this. Yes, we were losing so much money that we bought 2 rotators, a drag machine, had a year worth of glue stocked and glue shortage, and we're guaranteeing $2K payouts every points day. We had the best junior program. We had the best NHRA attendance in Division 1, the best nostalgia program, by far the best import program, and a bunch of other things that I don't remember because it was just so much and honestly so exciting. But stop. The right deal came along unexpectedly, and he did exactly what he should have done. Be mad, but stop with the lies. Stop pretending nobody tried, nobody cared about you, and all the stupid bleep. It's old. We don't even know who you are, love. You have no idea who we are, and you hate us like we kidnapped your firstborn, and that goes for more than just him. I think what you have here is a combination of several things. Mr. Capone, in my opinion, did not know how to deal with public scrutiny of how he ran things and criticisms of his business. I think he also was a smart businessman, because apparently he's had other businesses, or continues to have other businesses, which are successful as he has claimed. So he must know how to run a business. I would have to assume that his businesses probably aren't people-oriented businesses where he's got a customer face, see people every day, solve issues with customers and resolve them and try to keep people happy, which you have to do when you're in an ownership position such as a drag strip. You're going to have people that are going to get pissed at you, they're going to call you names, rotten things, and how you respond to them is reflected in you. Yeah, they're not nice people for doing it, but you got to step up a little bit. You got to put yourself at a higher level and not drop down to those low levels. Brush it off and move on. I think he has a real tough time doing that. Again, that's my guess. I don't know Mr. Capone from anybody. I can read from what he has posted that I think what I'm saying about him is true. In the end, no matter what, the track was closed. Mr. Capone ended up selling the track for $12 million. I don't know what he purchased the track for from Mr. Sway. I'm sure it was much less than that. Probably substantially much less than that. Estimates were that the track was worth between $2 and $5 million. When, at that time, when he purchased it from Mr. Sway, I got to assume that number somewhere in there as well, that he purchased the track from him for. He made a great deal of money. God bless him. But he also left a lot of questions behind when he just abruptly shut the place down. It kind of hurts a racer when you go to a place and dedicate your life for all these years to that track, and then you leave without saying a word. You just shut the doors like nobody else even matters other than you. And that's another thing I think that I can kind of read from Mr. Capone's words that he posted on social media. Sometimes you get in trouble for doing that, but I think even you could see that if you read through this with me, that it was all about him and his family, and that's great. That's the most important thing you could ever concentrate upon. But there was really zero thought given to any of the racers who supported him through the years at this track. So once again, we lose another drag strip in the Northeast. We're down to one in New Jersey. We lost Atco, we lost Englishtown, which that's another travesty, and I think a different story than Atco. We have Island Dragway yet. Still have Maple Grove, Cecil County, MIR, kind of in that circle of tracks. We hope they all stay solvent and providing a place for all us drag racers to go for years in the future. The only one I worry about is Island. That's a super small track, great nostalgia track, and I hope they keep things together, make a good go of it, and keep on rolling with the history of that track. It's the last one in New Jersey. I hope they keep it. So once again, thanks for watching. Let me know what your thoughts are on this. Comment, please, and let me hear what you have to say. What are your feelings on Mr. Capone? How he handled the situation? Why you think things went down the way they did? He blames a lot of people. He doesn't seem to put much blame upon himself. He did have a lot of external forces pushing pressure on him, especially the Pinelands Association, which is something that is used to conserve lands over in New Jersey. And we all know Jersey politics is not friendly to things like drag racing. And I'll just leave it at that. I appreciate every one of you guys watching this video. If you like, comment, subscribe, I'd highly appreciate it. Thanks for watching.